Welcome to the show. Greetings from insanely hot, humid, sunny Washington, D.C. We start today with news that I think is simply objectively bad for probably 85 or 90% of political views that are out there, but it's acutely bad for the Trump administration. And the news is that even though you've now heard completely destroyed, obliterated, buried underneath mountains of rubble about the results of those missile strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, there is now new reporting that that is very much not the case, and that the total effect of Donald Trump's bombing campaign may be nothing more than setting Iran back on the order of a few months. Now, we're going to get to the specifics, but of course, the reason this matters is that part of the case that was made by the administration as to why they did these bombings without seeking congressional approval, without telling Democrats, it was an emergency, we had to do it, but it was really effective, and now we have breathing room before Iran gets back to where it was. That central crux of it seems to have been obliterated. The claims about what happened are what seem to have been obliterated. Now, of course, Donald Trump and his Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Caroline Leavitt, they are continuing to insist that ordering these airstrikes succeeded in ways you couldn't even imagine. It was just a complete and total success. But we now have intelligence. We now actually have information from the Defense Intelligence Agency. It's important to remember that the Trump administration and MAGA's relationship with intelligence agencies generally is, if what they say is convenient to us politically, we point to them and say, here's what the intelligence agencies are saying. On the other hand, if what the intelligence agencies are saying is not so politically convenient, we say they don't know what they're talking about. We are currently in the latter situation. According to a DIA assessment that was leaked to CNN and has been confirmed by multiple sources, the strikes did not destroy Iran's nuclear program and didn't even set it back nearly as much as the most optimistic assessments said. The centrifuges are largely intact. The uranium stockpile, as suspected, was moved before the impacts, and it was mostly superficial damage above the ground, not inside the fortified cores where the real work is happening. Let's check out just a little bit of a CNN report on this.
We have major breaking news into CNN. 3 sources tell CNN that according to an early U.S. intelligence assessment, the U.S. military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities last weekend did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set it back a few months.
That's right. So this is an assessment that actually is out from the Defense Intelligence Agency. That is the Pentagon's intelligence arm. And it was based on a battle damage assessment conducted by U.S. CENTCOM after the strikes, according to one of the sources. Let's go to CNN national security correspondent Natasha Bertrand, who has this exclusive new reporting. This is to that question that has been asked about how much damage has been done. This is a real question. It's also a political question that has been to something that Donald Trump has been sort of dealing with here recently. What are you learning, Natasha?
Yeah, look, Brianna, this is the first assessment that we are getting that the U.S. intelligence community has found about the battle damage that resulted from those U.S. military strikes on these 3 Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. And as you said, it was produced by the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the Pentagon's intelligence arm. And it is worth noting that it is a very early assessment.
So obliterated, you can flush that down the toilet. Trump's first claim was completely destroyed. We got an initial assessment and it said, best case, Iran's nuclear program has been set back a year. Now we can debate, was this worth it to set the program back a year? Who are we to say whether Iran can or can't have a nuclear weapon? What about the UN's Nuclear Energy Working Group, or whatever they call it at this point in time? All perfectly reasonable discussions to have. But we have the discussions on the basis of what we know. And what we knew was destroyed, definitely not. Set back up to a year, okay, maybe. We now have a more accurate assessment, which says, probably set back by some months. And of course, if it is a setback of only a few months, Trump's 12-day war which he victoriously came out on top of and achieved peace, for which he should get the Nobel Peace Prize. All of that, no congressional approval, not looping in Democrats, to just be in the same damn situation again a few months from now. So there are layers of issues here. There are the layers of who gets to decide who has nuclear weapons. Well, different people have different answers. There's the layer more generally of seeking authorization for any such strikes, no matter where it is that the president wants to strike. Okay, that's another layer to the conversation. But the most sort of telling and arguably disturbing aspect of this is that after you sort out all of that stuff, the best assessment we now have is that Iran will be right back to where it was a week ago in a few months. And then we're going to have the exact same situation all over again. Now, Trump is, of course, doubling down. He's in Europe for the NATO summit, which we'll look at. He started posting in all caps that everything was completely destroyed. You know, when I engage caps lock on my keyboard, it doesn't make things more true, and the same thing applies to Donald Trump. But even Israel, who Trump, again, typically believes in terms of intelligence, even Israel said the deeper bunkers were not neutralized. Best case, we're looking at like a year plus here, but this is the latest assessment that says a setback of just a few months. The official response from the administration is, oh, the assessment's wrong. Remember, when intelligence agencies tell you things you don't want to hear, you just say that they are wrong. What everybody does seem to now agree upon is that Iran's nuclear capability has certainly not been completely destroyed. We're now in the shades of gray. You do have Trump saying completely obliterated, but now we're mostly operating in, was it set back months? Was it set back a year or more than a year? And again, the latest assessment says it is just a matter of months. So what we have is Donald Trump taking action, potentially illegal action, selling a fantasy to justify the action, all wrapped up in military uniforms and a flag and pumping out images of B-2 bombers on social media. And then when reality catches up to this, hoping nobody notices. Iran's nuclear program was not ended. It didn't buy a long-term peace. It didn't fix anything that was that wasn't already broken. And Trump is desperate for legacy here. That's fundamentally what this is about. Trump wants to be the winner of the so-called 12-day war that he named as part of the branding efforts. He's extraordinarily jealous of Barack Obama because Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize that Trump didn't think Obama deserved. Trump wants the Nobel Peace Prize, and he has enough sycophants around him saying, give it to him, that it's convinced him that maybe he's eligible. But the core of this, the supposed obliteration of Iran's nuclear capacity, best case scenario, according to our own intelligence now, a few months, disaster. And this led to Donald Trump showing up at the NATO summit, quite frankly, looking very, very depressed. Many of us know all too well about the sticking, rubbing, and chafing that you can get with traditional underwear. Our sponsor, Sheath Underwear, have created unique boxer briefs with multiple ergonomic compartments in the front, which prevents skin on skin, and that means everything stays separate, comfortable, dry, and cool. You will have a boost of confidence when you're out and about. I've known so many people who were skeptical about those compartments, friends who say, I heard that ad for Sheath, what about those compartments? And then they try it, and then they're amazed at the comfort and breathability when they finally try it. You will thank yourself. Plus, Sheath has brand new materials like bamboo and mesh for even more cooling comfort. They will be the most comfortable pair of boxer briefs you ever put on. No more sweatiness and chafing and readjusting, especially at the gym. It's a lifesaver. Give Sheath Underwear a shot. I've had a great experience. I think you will too. Head over to sheathunderwear.com/Pacman and get 20% off with code Pacman. The link is in the description.